Right. What's up, gang? Coach Simmons back here for what looks to be our last episode of season 3. And we're going to call this one Stop Playing It Safe. This is something that's really been sticking with me over the last couple of weeks. And before we really dive into that, part of the reason I won't be able to get out another episode is involved with a really exciting announcement that I'm sure a lot of you guys at the release of this will either know about or know about shortly. And that is why I've got to kind of cut things short. I have to shift my focus and for a short amount of time. But with that in mind, I did want to say a couple things at the start of this episode. Number one, I have like 2 spots left in my peak remote group. So this is athletes all across the US. This is open to anybody, even athletes in Colorado who can't make it to our practices locally. On top of that, we will have on November 1st, our camp registrations will open. So being as this is the last time I'm going to talk to you guys until spring, I figured I wanted to get a couple things out. But we can jump into what is going to be the start of this episode. So I'm super excited to share something, but man, it's really hard to not share that here with you guys, and look forward to making that announcement on socials and more formally to all of you guys here soon. But I listened to a really great podcast episode, and even before that, I saw it and I was like, oh, this is what I've been thinking for a long time. If you guys are interested in listening to a longer conversation about it, I highly recommend the Finding Mastery episode with Chase Jarvis. He talks about his new book called Never Play It Safe, a practical guide to creating a life you love. And this isn't a big, long spiel about, why you shouldn't play it safe and all those kind of things. This is more about embracing risk and discomfort. There's quite often this idea that if we just sit on this side of comfort, it's hard, but not quite all that we've got, but it's safe there. And living there and playing there, right? We've always heard this idea that, everything great is on the other side of our comfort zone and doing things that are uncomfortable. Part of the reason I brought up this announcement, and a lot of you guys will be able to come back to this episode if you, understand what it is, I'm super uncomfortable. This is something that is absolutely on the other side of my comfort zone for a lot of reasons. But a big part of why I'm excited to jump into it is that I also believe in it. And this is one of those times of season that as we step ever closer to the cross-country season ending in the state meet, you've got to stop playing it safe. And I mean that in the sense of a very calculated set of risks. Don't go out there at mile pace for the first mile and wonder why it didn't go well. I'm saying stop allowing yourself to play it safe when it gets tough. And that when you get to that place where your comfort zone starts to end and you've got to start to dig in a little bit, that's where I'm telling you to stop playing it safe. I want to kind of shift a look for you guys at something around the idea of risk and growth. Really, at the end of it is there's like this idea that creativity and like connection and like fulfillment, that those are really good things. They feel great to us. But they're quite often on the other side of discomfort. And what I mean by that is, I'll use an example. Like I'm sitting here, I have like paintbrushes and a small paint thing, and I have spent this whole month, every single day making a painting, doing something as part of Inktober. It's just a little thing. I'm not even sharing it on socials. You guys are the first to hear about it. And it's something that makes me inherently uncomfortable. I'm not great at art, but I'm trying to teach myself a new skill. It is a way that I'm experiencing discomfort that's outside of running. But with that, you also have to realize that in connection, which was one of our last episodes about having those uncomfortable conversations, that all of that is taking risks and growing, and knowing that fulfillment requires that you take risks too, that if you want that PR, if you want to make it to state, you're going to have to take some risks. But if you play it safe, the risk that you're taking is a very unfulfilling one, right? If you play it safe and you miss out, you're going to be really disappointed. But if you go out and you race and you don't play it safe and you take some risks and you still don't make that state meet, you get to finish that race knowing that you tried and you gave it 100%. And that idea of not playing it safe is the one that I really want to key in on, because we'll always hit a point in a race where we're questioning ourselves. Do I have enough to finish this? And this is one of those times where you don't have to have a yes or a no. It's kind of like a great skill I talked about early in these episodes was the idea of being able to say, let me get back to you. And that's the thing I want you to say to your mind and your body when it starts to kind of scream at you a little bit, when things get tough and you're really at the edge of your comfort zone now. Let me get back to you. And that just means that you don't have to make a decision in that moment of discomfort. You can just let it be and see how long you can stay there. And sometimes that purgatory, so to speak, that interstitial space of not knowing or knowing can be really tough. But just sit there, because nothing bad is going to happen. You just have to stay focused on what you came to do. And I think that's the really important piece of this, is that going into these next couple of weeks, have a mission and a goal in mind, that as you step forward and step into regionals and state or whatever's ahead of you, know what you're coming to do, but don't make it about time. Make it about how do you want to show up and execute that race. What does it mean for you to show up locked in? What does it mean for you to show up ready to perform? And that means that you have to go in with the end result in mind. And I think that's really, really key. I want to take a piece of this because we are also in this place that if we don't make it to state, we're seeing ourselves as failure. I want to reframe that a little bit. And this was a big piece that I took away from that podcast with Chase Jarvis, was the idea that failure is really like reframed by him as tiny experiments, and that we can learn and grow through failure rather than fear it. And this speaks to some of the things that we talked about with Shannon Thompson this season, that when you're showing up and you're coming from a place of fear, or the fear that you may lose something, you're not doing it with joy. And so when you show up and you don't play it safe, it is kind of fun, and you get some joy out of not playing it safe, right? Sometimes it's a little fun to stay out a little later, stay up a little later. Maybe it's, a little fun to eat some of that food that you don't always eat, whatever it might be. I'm just making things up because I just bought a humongous bag of candy for Halloween and may have cracked into that a little bit myself, got a little joy out of some Tootsie Rolls, but that's just me, y'all. But think about the idea that there is an element that's like, it's fun and I enjoy this, but it doesn't last forever. The races that you have in front of you, it's the end of the proper season. And then we're really into championship season. And so I want you guys to kind of see that this also requires a certain amount of vulnerability. And this goes back to the earliest episodes of the whole season, and the idea that we have to be able to show up and be authentic and use our own intuition. But I'm just going to ask that you guys challenge yourselves, that when you are pushed up against that layer of discomfort in racing, just go out there and don't play it safe. Go out there and try and see what's on the other side of that. And man, you know what? If you're saying, hey, part of me not playing it safe means I'm going to go out with that front pack, you might get dropped. You might blow up a little bit, but you get to walk away saying, I tried, rather than being all upset that, oh man, like I probably could have PR'd today if I would have just stuck with that front pack. But if you sat in that second pack and watched that first pack start to pull away from you, you'd probably be a little more upset than if you blew up. So just some things to kind of think about there. The last thing I'll say is this, is that there's a huge value in this idea of play. If you're only looking at this as a black and white thing of either win or fail, this is going to be a pretty boring sport to you pretty quickly. Part of the fun of going out and taking risks and not playing it safe is that you're playing. It's fun, right? You're going out and it's about saying, hey, how long can I hold off this group? And when you bring in that element of fun and you allow yourself to show up fun, and maybe you're goofy and whatever it is, that element of play is so key to the success. And instead of showing up with this really like, oh my God, if I don't do well here, it's state, or it's going to, oh man, it's regionals. If I don't make it out of regionals, I'm not going to make it to state. Man, that's no fun. This is supposed to be the end of the season. This is where the most fun is supposed to be because the reward is after this. So go out there and play and have fun. Show up loose. Show up excited. I promise you, anybody that's listening, if you are there for the girls' race or the boys' race, look up and down that start line as it goes off. You'll see the difference between the people who are out there to play and the people that are out there racing to try and not lose. See how they perform. I bet you the people that go out there and they're there to play, I bet they take it up a notch, and I bet they have a performance that they're pretty proud of. The people that are playing not to lose, if it doesn't play the way they wanted to, then they're going to be pretty upset because it's game over. That's rough. Whereas if you're playing and you lose, you're much more willing to allow yourself to see that as I learned instead of I lost. That's it, guys. That's all I've got for you. I'm really, really happy with this season. Super proud of all of you guys who have reached out by email. Any of you guys that have listened, would love to just hear from you guys and get some feedback about what you guys got out of this season. If anything that I said in this episode or previous episodes connected with you, I'd love to hear from you guys. Super excited to put season number 4 out there. Thinking about who I want to talk to, who I want to catch up with, but also the stuff that's going to be important to you guys. I want to hear it. I want to know it. With that said, thank you guys for the opportunity to make this a reality. Without our camps, without, Peak and all of the fun things that we get to do, we can't do the exciting things that I have ahead of us. But I also can't create a podcast without listeners. So if you guys got something out of this, do leave me a review. Go ahead and let me know what you think. Shoot me an email. Love hearing from you guys. With that said, I won't see you guys until the snow's melting. So let's enjoy winter. Let's make the most of it. It's time to do a little off-season training. It's time to get fast. Time to go fast. Good luck. Enjoy. Go out there. Stop playing it safe. Have fun. I'll see you guys at the finish line. See ya.
1, 2, 3, focus!